Welcome everyone to the class Teaching Positive Behavior. This class is meant to support school staff. We will discuss how to prevent, teach, and respond to behavior. This recording is to allow attendees to go back and review live notes and for others to gain information that were not able to attend. We'll start by talking about what will be covered in this class. And what will be covered is going to be based off of a compass approach as opposed to a map approach. And so what that means is we're going to focus on strategies that can be used in a variety of situations, with a variety of kids, with a variety of adults, people of all ages, and we're going to go from there, and then you'll be able to take that information and individualize it to specific situations as we go. The class is designed to be a 10-session class for 90 minutes a session. The purpose of having this ongoing class is to provide information in a way that is manageable and allows for continual practice of skills. And so we can practice the skills in the class, and then we're going to continue to practice them in our everyday environment. And so there will be homework activities, there will be activities in class that will allow us to become fluent and have these skills become natural. These skills are derived from the Oregon Social Learning Center, MTFC, and SWIFT research projects. Those research projects are students with foster care, students in foster care, and students in alternative settings. And a lot of it is from a skills coach manual that we derive our skills coaching approach to mapping it onto how it looks in school. And so we'll go over those things and go over those principles instead of looking at specific behavior plans or supplemental supports that are much more rigid and structured. This is just how to deal with students, deal with people in everyday life, and all of those plans, those intensive interventions, those supplemental supports require people to possess these skills. So they're the foundation for all of that. So if you're able to do these, you'll be able to do that other stuff is the way that we view things. Positive behavior support, collaborative problem solving, cognitive and behavioral research, and research on effective instruction is consistent with all these principles. And so this is kind of where they're all derived from. And so it's not going to be something that is totally new to people doing those things, but hopefully we can do it in a different light, in a different way, in a way that I feel is much more effective in dealing with students and dealing with people in general. The other thing is we'll just be covering these things throughout the class, but any additional suggestions that people have throughout the class, we will talk about those and we'll examine those things. So in order to start, we need to be consistent on what we believe. And we need to examine our personal beliefs and what we are going to communicate through this class, what theoretical orientation we're going to go to. And so in order to support positive behavior, we need to believe that behavior is a product of the environment. That people behave based on past experiences or current experiences that is affected by their environmental factors. If we believe that some people are good and some people are bad intrinsically, and that we can't change or we can't shape that by changing what we do, then we're not going to be able to support all people in positive behavior, and that's our goal here. And in order to do that, we have to have positive regard for all people. And that's such a huge thing. And it's such a hard thing. There's people that we don't get along with. There's people that we just don't see eye to eye with a lot of the time. But have that positive regard for all people and to figure out, okay, what is it that's having them behave this way, and how do I manipulate what I am doing or manipulate the environment so that it's supportive, so that it leads to where we're going to maximize reinforcement for positive behavior and minimize reinforcement for negative behavior. And these strategies allow us to do that in a natural, fluent way. And a lot of times people don't even know that we're doing it, and a lot of times the people that are able to elicit positive behavior do these things every day and they just don't realize it. So we're going to really make it clear so that you can see exactly when people are doing it, how people react when this happens, and different things like that. The other thing is to change these thought processes, to change these beliefs, to change these skills. It takes time and practice. That's why this is an ongoing course. So you can't teach it all in one bit, and things are going to come up that are going to be different than what you believe. And we need to have an examination of that belief, and we need to discuss it, and we need to think about, okay, how is what we're teaching, what we're saying right now, how is that different, and why is that different? And so maybe we can go through and kind of dispel some of those things as we go. But soon we'll see that if we can help people, and we can support people all the time, consistently, eventually what's going to happen is that it's easier to act positively. It becomes the norm. It breeds positive. It breeds success. It breeds all these things. And so we really want to stress consistency and do it without hesitation. And so we are just going to be able to do all these skills and do it fluently and just go on and be able to react to behavior as it comes. So the number one most important thing about positive behavior support is positive praise statements. Now, I know that people have had training in this. I know that it seems natural, it seems easy, but it's actually very hard to do 5 positive statements for every correction. And I can't stress this enough, that this is the cornerstone of everything we do. If we don't have this, if we're not fluent and we're not natural in being able to do this, to take positive things from negative situations and focus on those things, ignore the negative or redirect the negative, then we're not going to be able to do any sort of positive behavior support or any behavioral change. And so this is a really key cornerstone that I'm going to emphasize throughout the course, and this is what we're going to focus on today. There's a lot of research that goes into supporting 5 positive statements to every correction. We'll go over these. So this is some of the research that I compiled around positive to negative statements. There's so much more that supports this. I think these highlight the importance. So I'll read them to you. Behavioral studies regularly show that most teachers pay significantly more attention to misbehavior than they do to students' positive behavior. So they're paying attention to those negative things more than positive behavior. How does that affect? Well, we'll see in these next things. So Glenn Latham said, my research revealed that in classrooms where students were on task, attending, following instructions, and participating appropriately, the ratio of positive to negative interactions between teachers and students was 8-1. He also said, the higher the positive to negative ratio, the better the atmosphere of the classroom, the better the students behave, and the more they learn. So 5-1's on the low end. And the more positive that classroom is, the more we pick those positive things and notice those positive things, the more kids behave and the more they learn. Here's another one. John Gottman has showed that unless a married couple can maintain a ratio of 5 positive comments or interactions to every negative one, their marriage is likely to end. Those that get divorced typically have fewer positive interactions than negative ones. Similarly, High performance teams have a ratio of 6 positive utterances to 1 negative. So that just goes to show that it's not just students and teachers, it's with everybody. It's in our marriages, it's in our relationships. And so this is our call to be positive. Here's another one. Researchers conclude that because negative emotions and experiences affect us more dramatically than positive ones do, feelings of being frightened, for example, will generally stay with us for much longer than having a good laugh. We need to have more positive experience and feelings to thrive. And so what this says is that evolutionary, we are more in tune to attending to negative interactions than we are to positive. And so if we want to be associated with positive interactions, we have to tip that scale. And the way we tip that scale is we have 5 positive interactions to every 1 correction. And so this is why it's so important. Evolutionary, within our brain, this is how we process information. Here's one from a real life study with kids and in rooms. So here we go. Additional studies that couldn't be on this slide say, during my observations in regular educational classrooms, I found that the average positive to negative ratio was 1 to 4. So what he did was he taught these teachers to be more positive, to smile, to make pleasant comments, to touch gently, to make kind gestures, to avoid scolding, criticizing, and making sarcastic remarks. And the results were dramatic. The following school year, teachers and their aides were averaging 167 positive interactions per class period and only 4 negative interactions. That's a positive to negative ratio of 42 to 1. Increasing the positive to negative ratio had a marked effect on the emotional tone of the classrooms and greatly improved the success rates of the students. During that year, only 11% of these high-risk students were placed in special education, as opposed to when the positive to negative ratio was low the year before. 80% of students were thought to need special education classes. Here's another study. Hart and Risley studied the comments of parents toward their preschool children and found that homes that produced the most successful children, the parents gave their children positive feedback every other minute. On average, children in these families experienced a ratio of 6 positive comments every 1 negative comment. Again, I cannot stress this enough, how important it is. For people to be successful, they need to experience positive events way more than negative events. It's shown in all kinds of successful people from all kinds of walks of life, in education, in business, from preschoolers to elderly, in different relationships, in marriage, in business relationships with your colleagues. This is so important for us to embody the positive to negative ratio in our everyday life, and it will continue to be stressed throughout this course, and we will continue to practice and get better and better and better at having positive regard and doing these skills and making it natural. So how do we give these praise statements? And this is important. We think, we can just give a praise statement and that's it. There's a certain way to give, and it's certain ways of what we want to reinforce, of what we want to elicit. So we'll go over how to give a praise statement. A lot of people have heard that you got to be, specific in the task, and you can't just say good job, say why they did a good job, and that's true. Another trap that we don't want to fall into is the I like trap. And the I like trap says, I like how you kept your hands by your side, I like how you did this. That kind of deems I'm judging your behavior. Instead, what I want to do is I want to notice it. And a good way to notice it is I want to say the person's name first. And so I'll say, John, when I walk in the room, I always see you smiling. It's so good to see you smiling and participating with your class. It makes me feel like you really want to learn. As opposed to, John, I like how you're smiling at me right now. So what we want to do is we want to use the person's name, describe the behavior, and if it's appropriate, describe how it made you feel. That feeling piece is good because it can add another element to a positive statement that may not have been there before. And so making it feel like, ooh, man, I really feel like you're engaged with me. To John, when he's smiling, says, oh, that's why you noticed, or that's why you like it. And it kind of helps kids internalize it. The other thing is make praise always genuine. And sometimes you have to find the smallest little thing, but it has to be a real thing. Then you have to really believe it. So when you're ignoring negative behavior, you have to find that positive behavior, and it can be a small little thing, but you have to notice it. And so I might just pick, the way a kid is sitting in the chair, or if he gets out his materials and he may be really mad or really upset or really frustrated, he may get out his materials and slam them on the desk. And I may pick that because you got out of your materials, that's a positive thing. So I might say, John, thank you for getting out your materials. It shows me that you're ready to work. The thing is to find the positive, even if it's surrounded by a sea of negative. The more consistently we can pull that out, the more people will start realizing that they are doing positive things every minute, and those positive things matter. So the more we can notice, the more we can recognize, the more we can do this, we can show kids that you are behaving positively despite your negative behavior all the time. And we can show adults that also. The more we can do that and the more consistently we can do that, people begin to internalize that. So this is the part in the class where it is the participants' turn to get a partner and to take turns saying positive things. I told you that we'd be practicing a lot, and this is very important. And so they each say positive things. We usually break into groups. One of them's chips, the other one's salsa. And we look at, saying those things using that technique that we just talked about. And it's amazing that when we do this technique, how the climate of the room changes. When you start saying those positive things, people start smiling. People start being more friendly. People start having better eye contact. The room starts changing. And to me, this is the very power of positive behavior support. And so when we're doing these things, notice how the room starts changing. Notice how you start feeling when somebody gives you a good, genuine praise statement. And make sure you practice. It's so important to practice these things. It may feel funny, it may feel weird to do it, and people often feel uncomfortable, but practicing is so important. Then after that assignment, what we do is we look at how did it make you feel? So how did it feel to give that compliment? How did it feel to receive that compliment? And usually, initially, it feels awkward either way because we're not used to saying these things about people consistently. And just saying them, we always think we should house them to us. Or it might be weird if I told them how much I really like them or cared about them or things like that. That might be weird. And so it feels awkward to give it, but it feels awkward to receive it. A lot of times you get it and you say, oh, that's, I was just doing, we kind of doubt it. Instead of saying, thank you for noticing that and giving that compliment back. A good strategy is if somebody gives you a compliment, say, thank you for noticing. And you can even follow it up with another compliment. This kind of helps that positive environment to keep growing. and then we do homework. So we're not just going to do these things in a vacuum. You're going to go out and practice. And the homework activity is to show that positive behavior is not a sometime thing, it's an all the time thing. And so, this homework assignment is to get say 5 positive things to somebody that you don't do that enough for. And it doesn't have to be the person that, you don't like the most. It can be someone that, man, you just don't do it enough. You just don't give them a call. You don't, talk to them enough. You don't do those types of things. And, don't do it all at once so that it's weird. But do it in a way that is sincere, that you pick those, and you might have to start writing down the things that are positive. Okay, I want to say these things to this person. And plan it out, and that's okay. And the more and more we do this, the more natural this will become. So we'll share them out in the next class. We'll also, we'll also keep practicing this along with some of the other skills as we go. Finally, visit my page, Beyond the Bell. It's a Facebook page I've created to create a supportive community for educators, for parents, for students, for everybody. So we're talking about behavior is not a sometimes thing with just some people. It's for everybody all the time. So stuff on that page is there's parenting tips, there's stuff for educators, there is just stuff for everyday life. And really what it is it's a way for people to come together to share some success stories and to just be positive and supportive of each other. So the link is there. Go on, check it out. The more likes, comments, and posts we have, the more people we can reach and the more positive behavior we can elicit. Thank you for listening.